welcome, first off. Thanks for, I know you've been here before. We talk quite often. I know what you got working on. Known you for quite a while. It's great to have you in studio in this segment or this series that we talk about called Leadership Life.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're a leader. I know you're a driver. I know you're an impact player in a lot of different fronts, whether it's the trades or politics or developing communities. I want to learn a little bit about what created Red. Like, who built Red? How did Red come to be?
Oh boy. Well,
this is a 3-hour segment, so okay, just go ahead.
How did Red come to be? Well, I'd have to credit my mom and dad for how they raised us. You know, my dad was born in 1935, so he was an older generation. I was the youngest of 6.
Okay.
So my older brother was, I think, 20 some years older than me.
Wow.
And he was a, Army Ranger, paratrooper. I mean, that's something I always wanted to do in my life, was go in the military. And I was ready. I mean, I would have loved to have gone in the military, but a lot of my friends went in the Marines, and that would have suited me well. But then I met my wife in high school, and well,
the rest is history.
The rest is history. 4 kids, 4 grandkids, and that's that.
A life well lived and well served.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what is it that they taught you? What are the foundational things that make Red?
My dad was a very hardcore man. He was an iron worker, raised 6 kids, and he was a very respected man in the Union in Chicago. Very respected, and respected in our community. And he just, you have to work hard, treat people right. But if they don't treat you right, you got to stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
And, fortunately or unfortunately, how I was raised was, it was probably a little different. We came from the south side of Chicago, moved to Michigan. My dad wanted to get us away from, the south side. And, in our family, if you wanted the clicker, you had to be the toughest one to have the clicker. So
you had to fight for it.
You had to fight for it. I was the youngest of 6, and that's just how it was. And my mom was very, don't let anybody disrespect you. They don't, like my dad always said, everybody puts their pants on the same way.
Yeah.
And he didn't care who it was. You were going to show him respect, and he would show you respect, right?
Yeah.
But you're not going to disrespect him because he was an iron worker.
Yeah.
My dad was a very proud iron worker, very proud, and loved his trade. Loved his family, and that's kind of how we were raised.
Well, it sounds like that's very akin to your spirit, because you're in that trade, you're in that business, your son's in that business. Yep. You seem to embody a heck of a lot of the same principles.
Yeah, it's, I do.
You sort of take the best of what they offered and then add in what you think is the best of what you can offer.
It's weird, because when I started my own business in 2003, nobody in my family, as far as a boy, went to college. I was the first one to get an associate's degree. And that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Boys didn't go to college in my family. That's it. You're going to be an iron worker. And that's how it is. And it's like, it's a very small, tight knit community.
Yeah.
We look out for each other. And I went to college and got the opportunity to be an iron worker, and fell in love with it, and then started my own business in 2003. My dad didn't want me to start a business.
Yeah.
And this was the difference.
You do what you're supposed to do, which is go be an iron worker. You don't do this business stuff.
And that's what my dad's theory in life was. Hey, look, you're a rich man if you pay your house off.
Yeah.
If you pay your house off, nobody can tell you what to do.
Yeah.
Nobody. Once your house is paid off, if you don't want to work when it's single digits out, you can take that day off, because you can afford to pay your bills.
Yeah.
So to him, winning in life was paying your mortgage off.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of today.
That's not
you can't even get a house. Yeah. Today kids can't even get a house, let alone pay a mortgage off. So yeah, but yeah, that was kind of his theory.
It's also a sign of a much, I think, more intelligent, but also very much simpler philosophy, which is you don't need all this stuff. You need financial security. The reason you have a job is to provide and have some security for the future. Now, I think we're obviously a generation or two later, we're very geared towards, I want to have all my stuff right now, and then I'll build in the future. I think your parents' generation, my parents' generation said, no, we're going to build for the future. And if there's some left over, then we're going to go have some fun. But we're going to build for the future first. So I think the typical person right now might not pay off their mortgage if they could. They'd go to Cancun.
Yeah, but yeah, my dad, my
guess is he'd go to Cancun a lot.
My dad was a very simple man.
Yeah.
Very simple man. And he was the most moral man I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, his family means a lot to him. His word meant everything to him.
Yep.
And just like me, if I say something, I do it. If I don't do it, there must be a very, very good reason why I don't. Because if I tell you I'm gonna do something, I will do it. I don't need a contract. And that's how I think I was successful in business, because when I started, believe it or not, my first job, I got a phone call and the gentleman said, "Hey, are you going to be there in 2 weeks?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm going to be there in 2 weeks, man. We're excited. We're ready to rock and roll." He calls me again a week out. "Red, are you going to be at the jobs?" "Yes, I'm going to be there."
I said I would. Why would I not be there?
So the day before he calls and I says, "Hey, listen, I'm just going to tell you, I told you I'm going to be there. We're going to be there. We're going to get this job done for you. We're going to do it done properly. And that's how it's going to be." Well, what I found is most people in life, they don't do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
And that's why I was successful in business, because if you called me, if I told you I will get that job done through hell or high water, that job is going to get done.
Yeah.
And that's just how I live my life. And so believe it or not, I know a lot of people, "Oh my God, business is hard." I've never found business to be hard. I really haven't. I've never found business to be hard, because I've always said what I'm going to do, I do it. And customers appreciate that. And I'm like, "Man, Dad, sorry to tell you, but this is not as hard as." Now, there's a lot of hard aspects to business. Trust me, customers and,
I get it as well as anybody could.
But I promise you, if you don't lie to people,
you
will get repeat customers. People respect you, and they'll always come back and make sure and give you an opportunity to keep doing more business.
And then if they see you literally working as hard as you possibly can, and you make your commitments, everything you say you're going to do, you do. They don't have a lot to question.
Right. Yeah. Most companies I've worked for, I can tell you probably in 24 years, I think we've only maybe sued 1 or 2 people. And that was literally because someone stole from us.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Yeah. But because you associate with the right people, so they're not going to disappoint you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we always had a good customer, a good client base, good people to work with. Now, with that being said, there's always scope changes. There was arguments, that's just construction, but for the most part, I always had a great relationship with all my clients, all of them.
How did you migrate from being on the south side of Chicago as an iron worker? There's like 3 or 4 threads of that make you pretty scrappy, tough, maybe a little, not exactly as soft around the edges as one might be. I grew up around traders in Chicago, and there's 3,000 people just screaming their head off every single day. It took me a while to adapt. You're in Chesterton or Valpo, and people just don't say a lot of bad words, or they're not necessarily as upfront or candid or direct as you might be. And you might be saying, "Hey, let's not pursue that. That's not smart. Let's do this."
Right.
And someone else, you're used to how they talk on a job site. I was used to talking how they talk on a trading floor. How did you transfer that into talking to people in Chesterton about the school board, or talking to people at the county?
Exactly how I did it.
Okay.
I lived in Liberty Township, and there was a school board position opening up, and everybody in my subdivision said, "Red, you have kids, you own a business, and you should get on the school board." And I said, "If you saw my grades, you probably would, because like I said, back then, it was, you just had to graduate.
Yeah.
I didn't have any, ambitions
there wasn't
of going
somebody
to college.
saying,
right,
"Red, this is a 3.2 out of 3.5.
No.
You ought to get,
Hey, listen, they never asked me to take an ACT or an SAT. So what's that tell you? But it was, it was my baseball coach, believe it or not, who got me to go to junior college, and who was probably, besides my dad, the most biggest influence in my life. And the reason why is because he pulled me aside. He was he was a tough guy. I mean,
Yeah.
he told you how it was. And he said, Red, you know, I see something in you. You know, if you want to go to college, I'll help you get there. And I'm like, hey, I'd love to do it.
Yeah.
I ended up going to college. I ended up getting straight A's, you know, took it very serious. But that was the kind of influence in my life was a teacher and my baseball coach. And when they asked me to be on a school board, I said, you know, I really don't know, you know, what it's about. So I did some research, right?
Yeah.
I looked and, you know, our main job is to hire a superintendent. You know, it's not to get in the weeds of the corporation. It's to hire the superintendent, let him do his job. So the interview was, I think, me and 3 or 4 other people. I did not know anybody who was on the school board at that time. And I answered honestly. And I just said, I'm not going to get in the weeds. I believe we need to hire a good superintendent, let him do his or her job.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're here to just kind of manage the corporation. Well, they end up picking me. I knew nobody on the school board. We'd probably been in the community, I don't know, 6, 7 years.
Okay.
You know, and when I got on the school board, that really taught me how to be more professional.
Okay.
Because I will tell you, and listen, I'll be the first one to tell you, you know, I'm preferential towards Duneland.
Yeah.
But Duneland School Board is the creme de la creme when it comes to boards. We are professional. We do a lot of good things. And I think that was my first step into
I got to really raise my game
understanding
in terms of
being more professional.
Yeah.
You know, and because I was a little rough around the edges. I mean,
but staying real. To me, that's
the
the challenge. Is I get everybody needs to be more professional. That's all wonderful, but most people in that process become vanilla, and that's not super effective. So I like to see when people have strong personalities, but their strong personalities still persevere, but they just behave nicer.
Well, right, you behave a little nicer, but every now it was funny because I'll tell you what, God bless.
You still know the spirit is in it.
God bless
in that person.
God bless Dirk Beer. I mean, I served with John Marshall, Mike Trout, Janice Custer, Nick Jurasovic, Ralph Ayers. I mean, I served with some great people. Yeah, and they would say
they all have their own strong opinions.
100%. And every now and again, they'd say, "Oh man, old Red's coming out." Because I would tell them, "Hey, you know, I'm a new guy now." And every now and again, they'd say, "Yeah, old Red's coming out," and that was usually when I would say old Red came out. It was because it was something I really believed in, or you know, I've always been a person that would stick up for someone I thought was getting screwed. Yeah, and if I thought you're getting screwed, there's no better person to have on your side than me because I'll go through, you know, hell and back to make sure that you know. You don't get screwed.
Out of all the people I know, like you're definitely in that top selection list. If I was in a bar fight at the back of an alley and I just want the guy that's just gonna just scrap at it, you know.
Yeah. Of course, at 51 now with the shoulders and everything else, I don't know, but I'd give it a try.
The will sometimes accomplishes a lot more than the body
100%
says you could.
Yeah.
And obviously you got that kind of stuff in spades.
Yeah.
What is it that beyond Chesterton, obviously you could see a very direct impact. Chesterton was run really well. You went out and got a great superintendent. You got
the best.
Yeah, you got an awesome team.
Yep.
We work with all the schools of all of them around, but we absolutely appreciate the Duneland people just because they appreciate us back.
Right.
And we just, as a little anecdotal example, we this year said, well, we've been covering graduations for all these years, take all these wonderful pictures. We just want to give something as a thank you to the schools and that represent some of these pictures we've taken. So we created a poster, big poster in a frame or whatever, and we brought it out to Ashley on our team mostly, brought it out to all the schools. And we get a note back from Brent Martinson, principal at Chesterton. He's like, not only do I love this, do you have more years in the back, like beyond this year's? And we're like, actually, I think we got back to 2012 or something when we started covering Chesterton. And he's like, great, can I have posters of all those? And now there's going to be a whole long line list. And it's not just they're nice enough to put a poster of our pictures up in their school. It's when we go there, they say, hey, Charles, it's great to see you. Hey, Chris, thanks for being at the game. Hey, love to see you out on the field. And they get it. They really understand what we do for them. and they really are just nice people to deal with. And ultimately, that's what makes work fun, is when you're dealing with people that they have competence, but they're actually like enjoyable to work with.
Yeah. Principal Martinson's he's a great man. I've known,
and just so positive, and he gets back to our people all the time.
Believe or achieve, man. Yeah, that's his words for those kids, man. And he really does. He does. He's a heck of a principal, man. He really is a good man, good guy. And
there's families that go through that district, and they stay very involved and they stay very connected, whether it's the basketball program or the swimming program or whatever the heck it is.
Yeah.
And their arts program, their journalism program, you got a radio station. I mean, there's a lot of great things coming out of that school.
I've always said this. If you can't find your way at Doolin School, something's wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, we have WDSO, we have the band program, and we just don't have the band program. We place at state in band. We place at state in basketball. So it's not, we're a sports school, and which is, a lot of people probably wouldn't believe this. I'm a sports fan. I like sports, but believe it or not, I always made sure the band got what they needed. Everybody, drama, theater, everybody got what they needed. Because you think about it, band, how many kids are in band?
Yeah.
There's 300 people in band, 300 times, 2 parents or 6. There's more people in band than there are in football.
Yeah.
But it just, football, it's a sport, and it gets a little bit
a lot of attention.
But those band kids, I'll tell you a true story. I had some property by the high school, and I would go by there at 10:30 at night, and all them band kids are there practicing.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, they put a lot of time in. And so that's why, you have to make sure and take care of all the, all the students.
Well, and I would just, as my kids were going through high school and just all the high school coverage stuff we do, the number of times I've been really early in the morning in the high school parking lot for something, dropping off my kids or doing something with coverage, or they're late in the evening or in the middle of the summertime. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, at night the teachers are never there, and they're never there early in the morning, and they're never during the summer. And there's a ton. I mean, you go there in the middle of summer, there's a lot of cars there because there's people assisting or summer programs, or they're getting training, or they're doing something else.
Our teachers work their butts off, man.
Yeah.
I mean, our teachers
not just in Chesterton, everywhere. Teachers are awesome.
I can only speak to what I know.
Yep.
And so, but I mean, our teachers work their butts off. After school programs. If you don't want a club, you get a teacher. They're there for the club. They're there. I mean, the teachers put a lot in.
And the same thing I would say with coaches and all the assistants. You think about the impact a coach makes on all those kids. Not only are you like looking after these kids and teaching them a little bit of a skill, but you're growing them as human beings. And,
well, look at what the story I told you, my baseball coach. I would say, besides my father, he was probably the most important male figure in my life. And I'll tell you, it was because he was tough on me. When I was a good baseball player, decent baseball player. I don't know. I thought I was good, but I started on varsity, and he was on me. And I'll tell you, as a freshman, I hated him. Yeah, I hated him because I was that kid that you're not going to tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to do. Blah blah blah. I'll tell you what.
I'm 15 and I know better.
Hey, he took me out of class one time. Red, come here. Gave me a little talking to, and I'll tell you, about my junior year, maybe sophomore, junior year, I would have ran through a brick wall for that man.
Yeah.
Because all kids want to know that you have their back, that someone has their back.
And they also want to know what boundaries are.
And when kids need boundaries. Yeah. Kids need boundaries. And
they don't like them, but it's very helpful for them to know what they are.
Absolutely. And, that was a big, like I said, for someone to tell me, hey, I think you can go to college.
Yeah.
That was something for me that was unbelievable. I'm like, hey, you really think so? He goes, right, yes, absolutely. I know, you're a smart kid.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to apply myself because I knew I had a job after high school.
Well, and you think about that baseball coach, I don't know, in today's dollars, maybe he makes a couple $1,000s for being a baseball coach. And he's got hundreds or thousands of hours into being a baseball coach. And yes, it's great if they won a lot of games or didn't win a lot of games, or Red got real good, or whatever it is, your batting average went up. But think about the impact that coach had on you for the rest of your life. And he was probably paid like $2,000 to do it.
Yeah, a
In
stipend
today's
in today's
stage,
money. Yeah,
it's probably
yeah.
$100 back then.
Right.
Whatever it was minuscule compared to you'd go spend $500 for a leadership course right now, and society probably spent $5 with that coach giving you a leadership course. That's where I think education is. We got to understand it's a phenomenal return on your investment, because the school nurse does a little bit of that. The lady at the admissions, when you're coming in, hey, she's the one that's reminding you late. Hey, this is 2 of these.
Right.
I got to report them soon. How many people are parenting your kids every single day? It's a great value, I think.
Yeah, I would, if I was to say a message to a teacher, I would just say, remember one thing. It's just not a job.
Yeah.
You're going to get a lot of kids like me, but I'll tell you what I did do. I did go back to Buchanan High School. It was about 10 years after I graduated, I started my business. It was probably 12 years, 13 years. And I went into his classroom and I saw him, Coach Storm, and he's sitting there, standing up. He's a really tall guy, big guy. Say, hey, Coach, how you doing? Red, God, he did. Yeah. This is old school. Yeah. God, how the hell you doing?
Back in the day where he didn't even have to evolve.
He's God, how you doing? I said, I'm doing good, Coach. And I said, hey, man, I just want to tell you something. I said, and he knew my dad. Yeah. He knew my dad really well. I said, I just want to tell you, besides my dad, you're the most influential man in my life. And I wanted to come here and tell you that before anything were to happen to one of us. Oh, Red, well, how the hell? He couldn't even take that compliment because he was so, I don't know. But I just said to myself, one of these days I'm going to drive up there and I'm going to let that man know that, that I thought that was really nice of you to kind of, sometimes kick me in the butt, get me started. But, and he couldn't even take that comment because I think he was kind of like, what the hell? But
I had people like that, and they were among the most influential. I would definitely say, of all the people that influenced me, those that were the hardest on me were the biggest influence. And I've always viewed it, not as a kid necessarily, but as an adult, I've always viewed it as, if someone's going to be really that hard on you, they obviously
like you. They want you to
give a crap about you. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And if they're willing to do that, like, it's not a soft, the easiest thing to do, whether it's as a parent or as a boss or as a friendship, the easiest thing to do is just say, hey, it's okay, just let it be. The hardest thing to do is say, no, I think you're struggling with something. I'm going to actually talk to you about it. We're going to deal with it right now. So I view it as every boss that was real hard, they actually gave enough about me to have
take
that
the time
conflict.
to try and make you
they
better
knew
person.
I was going to give them grief,
Right.
or I wasn't going to be like, oh my gosh, thank you, my lovely boss. I'm going to just do whatever you say.
Yeah.
So it's more work for them to give direction and them to give a critique and them to say, hey, you can do better.
Right.
So to me, from that standpoint, it's an investment. And you obviously do that from a kid standpoint, a business standpoint. Jump forward now to county government. Mm-hmm. You say, I did this on the school board. I really like that collaborative nature. I see some things happen in the county and I want to positively impact them. When did you lose your mind and then say, well, I'm going to run for county council and invite all this to overwhelm you?
I know this sounds, one day there was a spot up for District 1 and I filled the paperwork out, didn't tell my wife, went down, dropped it off.
Probably wouldn't encourage that.
Listen, my wife, me and my wife.
I'm not going to do that, honey. I will definitely tell you when I'm filing January 14th.
Yeah, hey, good. I hope you do. Hey, listen, I've been with my wife since she's been in high school. We've been high school sweethearts, took her to the prom. She knows me by now, right? I went, turned my paperwork in. And I said, hey, by the way, I'm running for County Council of District 1. I knew it was a fiscal body. I've ran my own business. I understand,
balance sheets,
I understand money, cash flow. I decided I would say, I thought it would be public service. And while it is public service, it is very important. I will tell you, being on the school board, makes in my heart it was a bigger impact than I would say being on the council, being a commissioner, hell, even being a state senator.
Yeah.
Because the closer you are to the closer you are to your own community,
Yeah.
the better things you can do.
Yeah.
And
because it's more boots on the ground.
Boots
you
on
can
the
actually
ground.
directly impact something, and you're not saying, I'm potentially impacting something 3 to 5 to 18 years down the road.
Right. But
so all that aside, you still jumped in and said, I'm going to go.
Yeah, I did. I've always liked doing stuff like that. If I can try and fix it and help out the conversation and see if we can't, I say, do a little better than the year before.
Yeah.
And it took me a year and a half to just understand the landscape of county government. And but this year, I think we did some really good things for the people of Porter County. So I'm proud. I'm really proud, actually, to be a part of that.
Well, and it probably takes a little while just to understand, how does this machine work? And there's a lot of influences, whether they be state or federal or local or by town or by individual department, or we've always done it this way, or that's totally new. What would you say, if you look at the last period of time in county government, what would you say are the couple of successes that you're particularly proud of that the county brought together?
I'm proud of the communication.
Okay.
From the commissioners to the council members. And, specifically, I'm proud this year, everybody, was talking about, us raising lit and, with SB1 and all those changes. We decided to borrow from the foundation to fund ambulance and the fund roads, and that took a 10-0 vote.
Mm-hmm.
That's never been done. And I'll probably tell you it's probably not going to be done again.
Yeah.
But I think, we a lot of communication. Everything requires communication.
Yeah.
You have to talk to people. Even if you're a D and I'm an R, we have to talk to one another, right? Yeah. And I think we all did a very good job doing that. We passed it 10-0, so now we're gonna have road funding for 2 years, and we're gonna have ambulance funding, and we didn't raise lit. We kept lit at 0.5, which is the lowest in the state. And as far as a board, we all, I believe, we didn't want to pass lit, nor do we ever want to in the future, unless it's to the point where
we don't have
another choice. But we will exhaust all choices before we put it on the backs of the taxpayer.
Even in that light, and again, we don't touch on negative or controversial or any of that kind of stuff, but even in that light, you bring forth a very candid communication. All those changes were made, at a state level, and on a local level, there might be some R's that really didn't want to critique that too much, because that's talking out of school. You've seen plenty of situations where, no, we're supposed to just speak within the family. And you say, how about we just speak openly? Why do you do that? And how do you, or maybe the best question is, why do you do that? And what drives you doing that? Like, why is that so important?
Because I believe that people are entitled to transparency from their elected officials. I don't believe, listen, I'm a team player. But, when I feel that, we continually get beat up by our own government, someone has to call balls and strikes.
Yeah.
And I don't mind calling balls and strikes. I think that, if you do some good things, I think you get the attaboy. Right?
Yeah.
Hey, these are good. If you do some things that are going to affect Northwest Indiana, they're going to affect Chesterton, Duneland area, you better believe I'm going to call you out. Honestly, I don't care, Republican, Democrat, governor. If Donald Trump was in front of me, if it affected my community, I'm gonna let you know about it.
And it would ultimately build more trust, because it's great that I got this half of the country loyal to me, or it's great if I got this half of the country loyal to me. But ultimately, this is just like a little shell game. And then these people are going to be in control, and then these people are, then these people are. And why not, like, hey, all the reasonable people in the middle, why don't you guys be in control? And then maybe don't listen to these extremes so much, or listen to them, but the center of the table, you make the decision.
Yeah,
You don't necessarily always need this person or that person to make the decision. How about
how
all
about
this
common
mass
sense?
in the middle?
How about just a
Yeah.
common sense decision?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't think that's asking too much to, try and put forth common sense legislation. Who's it going to affect? Who's it going to hurt? And, how about if you're an elected official? How about reach out to your constituents? I don't think that's asking too much. I told a gentleman one time, I said, oh, I see how the game's played. You write the legislation, you pass the legislation, and then I'm supposed to tell you that I don't like the legislation.
Yeah.
Well, that's not how I work. If I see legislation, I don't like it, I'll call you and give you my disappointment or whatever. But if people don't call you back, they don't really care to hear what you have to say, then you take things in your own hands.
Buyer beware.
Right? Buyer beware. I mean, this, it is what it is. So,
how do you? What leadership traits do you want to see develop more actively in government? If you had to think coaching, schools, business,
leadership,
all the kind of things. Yeah.
leadership.
What about leadership? What aspects of leadership? You had to say at your company or in the county or at the state, whatever level, I want to see more.
I wouldn't say honesty or trust. I think people are afraid to say what's on their mind.
Yeah.
And I've just always felt that if I believe what I believe, and Chris, you believe what you believe, we can talk about it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have so many.
Because you're not going to punch me in the face,
no, right.
and I'm not going to punch you in the face.
And I'll tell you what I've realized in my life, and I have a lot of Democrat friends, and we sit and talk, and sometimes I look and go, okay, I see their point of view. I get that, right? So there's nothing wrong with reaching across the aisle, talking with people. I'll talk to anybody, and I think that's the thing that's missing is, there's nobody that I have never said I'm not going to talk to them. I will talk to anyone, and I mean anyone that wants to talk to me about something. I mean, I go to airports. I've talked to homeless on the streets just to ask them, hey, what's your story? Because I'm interested. Hey, good conversations. I mean, so I think you can have a good conversation with anybody if you're willing to, open yourself up and talk with somebody.
Yeah.
And I've never been afraid to, not talk with anybody. I love talking to people. I think that's, how you get to, you just get to meet different people, right?
It's how humans exchange and collaborate and learn. I remember when all the COVID stuff was going on, and some folks were saying, we're going to work remote forever. Like this happened, and now it's just going to stay like that forever. And I would look at it and say, okay, on a continuum of time from like caveman days or Neanderthal days through right now, like this whole entire continuum of time, people have worked collaboratively as humans. Right. So we're going to take this like 1/10 of this little stripe in the table and then just say, let's just change it all. I don't think that's going to be the case. And obviously people work a lot more remotely and combination of things, but humans still need to get together and see each other.
Your best collaboration is getting together.
Yeah. And have tension.
Right.
And have the pregnant pause that says, oh, okay, well, I should probably think of that before I respond, and then engage and then learn and grow and be better, not just be confident in your own opinion and surrounded by your own opinion.
And I think if you give people that, if they feel that when they go into an office that their voice matters, I think, you get, a lot more done. And I think it's just a better atmosphere to work. So, my theory on being a leader or a boss is, we'd have a Monday morning meeting, and I always said, if I'm wrong, call me out.
Yeah.
If you don't call me out, shame on you.
Mm-hmm.
I will call you out. So just whether you only call me,
don't make it only one way. You've got permission to do it two ways.
100%. I've always said that. If you think I'm doing something wrong, that's gonna, we can do it a better way. I want you to open your mouth, because that's the only way I think you get just the best solutions to things.
I had a boss that used to just say, "You owe that to him." He would say it rather loudly, but he would be like, "You owe that to me." Not just it's okay to share it, but if you're working for me and trying to help us achieve the most, why in the world would you not present conflicting information to what I'm suggesting, because that would lead us to be unsuccessful.
You know why?
Like and he would get pretty darn animated about it, almost like I'm going to punch you in the face,
right?
Because you didn't tell me I was wrong.
Because there's people who want to be leaders,
Yeah,
and then there's people who are leaders. The want to be leaders want the role, they want the title, but they can't accept criticism. They can't accept different ways than their way because they feel like, if I go a different route, it's going to make me look bad.
yeah.
I have always said, I'm comfortable enough in my skin to say, Chris, if you have an idea, I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm wrong, you're right, let's go.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's helping that customer get across the finish line is more important to me than my feelings, or your feelings.
Yeah.
So if you got a better mousetrap, brother, I'm all in. I'm taking your mousetrap.
And even if we're competing, helping this customer, let's help them get across the finish line, and then we can decide who gets credit later on.
Exactly.
But let's get the guy across the finish line
first. So you always got to, you always have to take care of your customer, and that's what I've always enjoyed doing. That is helping people. Solve problems, and it's not just construction problems. It's I'll tell you, I've been tasked with so many things. I've had people call me mental health issues, mental health problems. I guess think I'm the type of person people can talk to.
Yeah.
Because I've had some doozies.
You and I will get on the phone, and all of a sudden it'll be 45 minutes later, and we're like, wow, we just touched on pretty much everything.
But I've had people ask me about mental health, their sons, daughters, even themselves. I've helped people go get down to Indy through a friend of mine. By talking with them, I found a place that now I can get them down there if they need inpatient help. So it's the more people you talk to, the more resources you have, I think, to help people. So that's kind of how I've always looked at life, man. I'll help you through any. If you ask me, I'll try and help you some way, somehow, some shape. That's just how I do things.
Our orientation, obviously, is just finding positive stuff, writing stories about it, taking pictures of it. What do you see in your day-to-day life that you find inspiring?
That's a tough question. What do I find inspiring?
Think about county government. We all pay a lot of attention to the elected officials that quasi-run things. What about folks that are actually running county government, that are actually doing county government? What inspires you for them?
Well, what inspires me is, to be honest with you, you could probably take half the elected officials, not even elect them, and it's still going to get done because we have dedicated people that's going to do the job. So we have a lot of good dedicated men and women that are going to do the job regardless if I'm in, elected office or not, or probably half the people. That's what I've always said is, it's going to run. And, we have a lot of good people, a lot of good committed people in the county. I've met a lot of them, and I'm glad. Like I said, one of the things I've always been glad that I ran for office, because there are so many people that I've met in Porter County. I'll tell you, I was always proud of Duland, and I am proud of Duland because I got to know every principal, everybody. But now that, I'm kind of reaching out, going, say, countywide, there are so many people doing so many good things, man. There really is a lot of good people, but you know what? It's always the negative, and that's kind of, I think, by human nature sometimes, nobody wants anybody to succeed. And I'm always like, man, why don't you give an attaboy instead of you should have did this or should have did that, But I guess that's maybe human nature,
Well, we try to battle human nature every single day. I don't know that we've ever won. I don't know that we will ever win, but I think our orientation is just, all that negative stuff's out there. And it's probably always, because of human nature, going to be insatiably more attractive than what's good.
Right.
But if there's an absence of what's good, we probably ought to just put a lot more of it out there, because my guess is, even within the county where things can get contentious, if you're dealing with 100 people, 90+% of them are decent folks that just want to get an
100%.
answer on their question. And I look at it as, it doesn't matter in what city I'm in. If I walked out of whatever location I'm in and walked 5 blocks, I could find 10 good things happening. If I walked 5 blocks, I could find 10 bad things happening in any city. So if that's the case everywhere you go, why don't you just look for the best stuff and don't ignore the worst, go deal with the worst. But actually to say the preponderance of people, like most people think, as you said, well, it's all negative and people are jerks and there's nobody that's trustworthy and all politicians are terrible and all these great exaggerated things like the stuff you see on TV every night. But then you think all politicians are terrible. Okay, so there's 10 council and commissioners. How many of them are evil? Just out of curiosity.
None.
Yeah.
Hey, listen,
Really? There's none that are evil?
There's none.
Yeah.
There's none. Listen,
that's not what I read on TV or heard on TV.
There are people that I will go to battle with, okay?
Yeah.
But I will tell you, at the end of the day, they're not evil people. They're trying to raise their family, pay their bills, do what they can do. They're not evil people. It's just a way of, I think, how we get there sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's
But
really all it is.
if you look at what you read or you look at what
Yeah.
you watch or you listen to on the radio and you're like, my God, all these people are terrible. And then you learn in real life, no, most of them actually aren't. There's some people that are jerks, no doubt about it. But if you walk into the store, most people you see at Strax are just nice people.
They're just nice people.
Yeah.
And that's why.
Yes, this one old lady was yelling
Right.
about the
Right.
grapes or something. Of course there was. But like there was also 48 other people in the store at the time. So
You will provide your own happiness. You want to get happiness from a therapist or this or that or social media. At the end of the day, you are the only person that can make yourself happy.
Yeah.
It's not going to be money. It's not going to be your mom and dad. It's you. So you have to look at yourself and see how are you living your life? Are you living life a good, positive way?
Yeah.
Or are you falling into, the social media crap that people throw out there and you want to be negative Nancy and, be the victim and, oh God, it's, why me? Well, I look at it as, you have to live with yourself.
Yeah.
And that's, like I said, at any decision I've ever made, I can tell you there's not many times I can say I put my, head on my pillow at night and said, man, when I go to sleep, I sleep like a baby because you know where I stand. Everybody knows that you can call me and talk to me.
Yeah.
So, if there's any issues, let's talk it out. And I just think for me, it's a great way. That's how I live my life. Right. I think that's the way. It'd be great if everybody did that, but
yeah. And I think
maybe not. Maybe it wouldn't be great if everybody did that.
I think it'd be great if everybody did that. And I think the key is all of us looking in the mirror every day and saying, well, that's the goal that we had. How do we do? And at least with that person in the mirror, just saying, today I didn't measure up or today I did. And I think I could even do a little bit better. But I think an awful lot of it is we spend a lot of our time thinking about what everybody else messed up. And I think the only thing that you could really control is what you do. So how about mostly keep that going inside your own head and talk to the mirror and just say, what are we going to do about this? Because you and me, that guy that I'm seeing when I'm shaving, we're the only two that can actually do something about it.
Someone asked me, I was on the council and we were talking about SB1 and I said, hey, listen, this is how I approach life.
Yeah.
I'm not a legislator. Okay. I'm a council person. Whatever they put in front of me, I deal with.
Yeah.
That's it. But whatever they put in front of me, I am going to figure out a solution. That's why I'm elected, to make sure that solution doesn't hurt Porter County or, my district. And I think if you have that mindset, then, whatever the legislatures do, they're going to do it. But you know what? We have to, take responsibility and put our own solutions forward and, make the best of it. Right.
Yeah. Because otherwise you can moan about it for a long time, but it doesn't really actually do anything. And then you spent X amount of time moaning when you could have just spent that time actually figuring something better out.
Yeah. If you can control this is what I can control. I cannot control, how the state legislature passes their bills, but I can control, this money right here and what we can do with that money to, make it better. So,
tell me what you think going into 2026. What are you excited about?
I'm excited that we had a 1-year budget, but a 2-year plan, if that makes sense. So, we funded ambulance for 2 years. We funded roads for 2 years. And there's a lot of roads. There's a lot of intersections that need work. 700 and Meridian has been a sore subject for me for probably 15 years. Hopefully we're going to find the money to remedy that situation. But I like it because What we did this year was we kind of put together a 2-year roadmap until we get to set our own lit rate from SB1. So we want to get through these 2 years. We don't have to raise taxes. We're good. And then in 2028, we're going to make that tough decision. Okay, how much for roads? How much for public safety? How much? And then we're going to have a lit rate, which I still think we might even be able to be cheaper than 0.5 right now, because we don't have to share with the cities and the towns and the schools and the townships. So to me, that's exciting. I mean, I think, I haven't, when I got elected, I didn't really, I think they just went year to year to year to year. And I get that because you have to know what your budget is, but you have to look out 3 to 5 years and say, okay, our roads need help. Let's just pick one thing. How about roads? How about public safety?
Yeah.
And so, we took care of public safety. We took care of roads. We took care of ambulance. We took care of some things that,
needed to be secured.
And so now it's like, okay, we have that. Now what else can we build on, and what else can we try and, fix in Porter County? So
one of the last things I'll touch on, and I think you were just there earlier, is the Gary Airport. You're now on the board. Tom Collins Jr. is now running it. You got Dan Vicari and his whole team out there that are absolutely fantastic. I got a chance maybe a month or so ago to go do a tour out there and see what they're doing on commercial flights and shipping and transportation stuff. They're working on a new passenger terminal and some, real solid opportunities to expand things there. It seems like an ideal time for you to get involved. What's your first impression?
Well, today was my first meeting. So I, read all the materials, was reading through the master plan of the Gary Airport. And my first impression is I think we have board members, there's some new board members, I guess, that are on. I think with, Tom Collins being the chairman, I think we're going to do some good things. I really do. I think we're going to see some cargo. I think we're going to see passenger. I said that at the meeting today. I said, hey, I think a lot of people in Northwest Indiana would love to see, passenger airline coming back to Orlando, Tampa, Las Vegas. How big of a jump start would that be for Lake and Porter and LaPorte County and the surrounding areas to go right to Gary, and you can get a flight. I think that'd be great. So I'm excited to actually be on that board.
I love doing the tour just because Dan took me out basically on their whole entire campus, and you see there's a lot that's happened already. I mean, there's a number of new private hangars that have been built. There's a number of new private hangars that are getting at it. There's, the commercial shipping distribution end that's growing, already getting paved and built out, and that infrastructure. They're building a new airport tower. They're going to extend the runway even farther, the cross runway even farther. Like, they got a lot going on. And a lot of people, they drive by and they're like, I wonder what's happening up there.
Right.
But you actually put boots on the ground. There's a lot happening up there.
Yeah, there's a lot happening up there. I think it's just going to get better. And I think if we can get, some cooperation with the legislature and maybe some help, and I think it's going to be our story to tell.
Yeah.
It's the board members, the press, and, I think making the right steps along the way, saying, hey, you can give us this money. We are going to put it to good use. We're going to get passenger. We're going to get, cargo. Yeah. And I think it could be a hell of an economic engine for Gary and quite frankly, for the region.
Yeah.
That's why I'm excited to be on it. And, just like I said, one meeting, I've read the master plan, I've read the thing, some things, but I'm excited. It sounds to me, I've met with all the board members.
Yeah.
One was an Alabama fan, so I had to give him some crap.
Yeah.
And, because I wanted Notre Dame to play Oklahoma and then play IU, but very good man. I've talked to all the board members, and I think they're on there for the right reasons. And I think we're going to promote the Gary Airport and show the legislatures and show, the area that, hey, we're going to do this, man. We're going to do some good things here.
Well, thank you for that update on the airport, on the county, and ultimately for sharing a little bit about who Redstone is. So when someone sees you in a leadership role or they see you on a board role, they're like, I get a little bit more of what this guy's about.
Well, like I said, I think I probably get taken the wrong way a lot of times, because my wife was like, God, your face, you look like you're intimidating.
Yeah.
I don't, I'm the nicest guy in the world. I swear to God, I'll help anybody, anytime, anywhere. But, so maybe I should probably
You come across with a
smile
lot
more.
of energy.
Yeah.
You're very passionate.
Right.
And sometimes, as I've been accused, probably rightfully so, that passion comes across as a little overwhelming. And I'm always thinking, but it's just so sincere. Like if it sounds harsh or it sounds tough,
it's me
I don't
being
have much of
passionate
a,
about something, right?
my spigot doesn't like open very gradually. It's just like, hey, boom, fire hose, let's go.
Yeah, that's
I'm learning,
Yeah.
When I'm 60 years old, if I got 30, 40 more years in me, I'm going to become acclimated to having an adjustable nozzle. But I think I was born with you either shut it or it's a fire hose. And sometimes that makes it a little challenging. But the key thing is, as you are, we're just trying to work on this.
I would say, listen, I'm passionate about things. When I get involved in things, I'm passionate about it. But I'm always doing it from the goodness of my heart.
Yeah.
It's never political. It's never about money. It's always about really trying to do what's best. And, I'm on the Gary Airport. Well, why is a Porter County, councilman or an appointment from Porter County? Why do they care about Gary? Well, I think, like I said, it could be good for the region.
Yeah.
I think it'd be
the whole region should care about Gary because it's part of the region.
It's part of
large
our
part
area.
of the region.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm going to be passionate, and there's, who knows? I might say things that might rub people the wrong way, but it will never be out of politics. It'll never be out of trying to make someone look bad. It's because I believe we need to take these steps going forward. To be successful, right? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Well, you keep being you, county keep being effective. Absolutely best of luck to everybody involved with Gary Airport and all the plans that they've got there. And thanks for sharing a little bit about Redstone.
Chris, I appreciate you taking the time today to let me come in here.
Awesome. Well, thank you, sir.